she'll call me on it. She goes, are you gonna complain about it, or what are you gonna do? So my quote for that is, you're gonna bitch about it, or you're gonna be about it. It's been my experience, whenever you feel like everything's falling apart, like everything is just not working, that's when it's time to dig in. It's when it's time to push through. It's time to keep working on those problems and solving those problems. Hello, and welcome to Old Man Energy. I'm your host, Flint Anderson, and I wanted to get on here and talk about this. This may be a short episode. It may just be a bonus episode. I'm not sure, but there's a lot sitting on my heart right now, and I'm hoping that this doesn't come out all over the place, because there's a lot I want to say, a lot I want to talk about. Guys, one thing that we don't realize as we're going through this is how heavy it can feel sometimes. And it's just, especially if you're emotionally involved. I mean, obviously you're emotionally involved with your family and your wife and your children, and that's not what I'm talking about, although that's a piece of it. If you're emotionally involved in your business and as an entrepreneur and being out there, I mean, we cannot help but care about the people that work with us and for us. And the point of fact is that things are not always going to go smoothly all the time. And the way we view those, some days it's like we're the maestro sitting at the keyboard and we've got all these different keyboards around us. And I don't know, I'm reminded of the original scene at Bill and Ted, because this is what always pops into my head when I'm having days like that, where just everything is feeling great. And they're rolling through the mall, and he's in the music store. He's got the keyboard set up all around. He's just playing, and everything he touches sounds wonderful, and it's just going perfect. We have days like that and enjoy those. They're awesome. They feel great. You don't want to give those up, because there's when you get a lot of stuff done. It just seems like everything's clear. The plan is working. Everything's coming together. But what about the opposite of that? And I'm been having a day like this for the last couple of days. And I know that making that plural sounds a little weird, but it's true. Where some days the burden it sits heavy. And this could be a lot of things. This could be negativity in the world, which there's a lot of stress going on in the world right now. Could be a lot of things going on in your life. Could be just your mental attitude. It could be fatigue. It could be a lot of things. And it's not really important that you unpack where it's coming from. It's just that you acknowledge that it is happening and that you're feeling that way. I care about everybody that works with me. I care about the work that we produce. I care about the business. I care about the people that I lead, the people that I coach, about my family and everything else. And point of fact is that it just doesn't always work the way that I want it to. The vision sometimes doesn't come together the way that I want it to. And sometimes even when you've done everything that you have to do, or that you can do, or that you can think of to do, sometimes it's just not good enough. Sometimes it doesn't go the way you want it to do. Sometimes people get irritated with you, and if you take that stuff personally, it can weigh on you pretty heavy. And wanting to do a good job and having a lot of irons in the fire is just the way some of us live. I know it's the way that I live. I've always got multiple projects going on. I've got people around me, and I've got folks that want to interact with me that I don't necessarily have time to do, or I've got to give them time at a certain time in the future. And that's hard for me, because I've built the past 20 plus years of adulthood, even longer than that, on being accessible and being available to people. And now that we're spreading out, it's hard for me to reconcile that I'm not as available, but I'm touching more lives. And it's a really weird thing. But at the same time, some folks understand it and some folks don't. And I take that personally. I really want folks to be happy. I want folks that work with me and work closely with me to be enhanced. I want them to have a better life. I want them to move forward. I really want them to understand the depth and the challenge that we all as leaders go through. And I know some of you guys out there are feeling that way. And it doesn't mean that you have to have a massively huge organization with a bunch of different places to feel this way. Sometimes it's just going to be your family. Sometimes it's just going to be life in general. It's going to be sitting real heavy. And I don't remember who said the quote, but the quote that I really love in this situation is, you look good carrying it, or it seems easy to carry, doesn't mean it's not heavy. And I think I posted that here recently, but sometimes your burden is heavy, and just because one person that you know or somebody else handles a burden that you think is similar to yours better than you do, it doesn't mean that you're doing a bad job, and it doesn't mean that it's not heavy for you. If there's something that's touching your heart and something that's weighing heavy on your heart, and life just seems overwhelming to you at that point, that's okay. It's not okay to lay down and give up. It's not okay to sit around and whine about it and complain about it, because honestly, nobody cares. Talk about it, work through it, take the time to step back and figure out what you need to do and how these situations need to be addressed, and honestly figure out if there's anything you can do about these situations. But the last thing in the world that you want to do is avoid them and just pretend that they're not happening, because that's not going to be any good for anybody. I'm going to give you an example of a couple different ways that I've handled this, and a healthy way and an unhealthy way, as being my sounding board and the person that knows me better than anybody else and also has the most access to me. If I'm having a hard time and I'm having a bad day, and just straight up bitching and complaining about it, just whining, oh my God, this, oh that, I don't feel good, this and that. Not really looking for solutions, just complaining and, oh well, this is overwhelming and that's overwhelming. She'll call me on it. She goes, are you gonna complain about it, or what are you gonna do? So my quote for that is, you're gonna bitch about it or you're gonna be about it. And that tends to help wake me up. And it's like, okay, well, nobody really cares if you complain about what's going on. And it's just the same as if you're late to work. Your boss doesn't care why, as a general rule. Just apologize for it and move on. If you're missing a deadline on a project, own it. Do everything you can. Understand that client is probably not going to be happy with you because you missed your deadline. And while I don't believe that that's okay, as far as on my end, I hate missing deadlines, but there are sometimes there's situations where you're just in the middle of it and you can't help it. If you're in a situation where you have a lot of things on your heart and a lot of things on your shoulders and just a lot of shit on your mind, instead of just bitching about it and whining and complaining and just basically weakening yourself as a man and as a leader, because nobody really cares if you're complaining. Second way you handle the day, you know what? You get up. And this is exactly what I did today. I had a lot on my plate today, a bunch of stuff that needed to get done. A bunch of stuff has come up throughout the course of the day that I did not expect. Things outside of my control, some of them inside of my control, and wasn't feeling terribly great when I got up. There's lack of rest, there's a cold going around. I don't have any idea. But point of fact is that's irrelevant to the shit that I've got to get done today. So went through my day, did what I needed to do, started identifying what needed to be addressed, what I could address, what I couldn't address. And as things came up, if they were emotional, then I put them off, not ignored them. Just, okay, I need time to pack this. I need time to unpack this. I need time to figure this out. I need to pay attention to this, and not when I'm in a tired state or not feeling good state. So just address the things that I could, took care of the things that I could not, and scheduled them for later to make sure that I address them in the way. But even then, even with all of those coping skills, still overwhelmed, still tired, still just feeling the weight of life in general. And when you're feeling that way, at least for me, whenever I'm feeling that way, I feel everything amplified. Everything. And that can be positive emotion, it can be negative emotion, although with that mental state, a lot of it's more negative than it is positive. And it's just, it seems like you want to burn it all down at that point. Just like, okay, what's the point of going on? Why are we trying? You just focus on everything that's not working instead of what is working, or instead of what you're doing or your goal and your accomplishments. And it's real easy to say, well, this is why you have to have your goals written down. This is why they should be on the mirror. You know what? I have all that. And I still have days like today where it's just like, you know what? Screw it all. I don't care. What's the point? I'm so frustrated. I'm so upset. I can't solve these problems, and just nothing's working. It's all falling apart. It's like everything I touch is just not working. And then as we went through the morning, in the course of the morning, I had the stuff to do. And she asked again, she's like, are you all right? And I said, everything's just sitting kind of heavy today. I'll be all right. I think I need a break. I think I need to decompress, maybe unpack a little bit what's going on and just try and figure it out. But I got it. I'll be fine. I'm just having a hard time today. Acknowledging it, letting my significant other know that she's valued and that I respect her opinion. And she, instead of responding with, well, you need to suck it up or quit feeling sorry for yourself or whatever, it was, hey, is there anything I can do? And, there's really not. And at this point, sometimes there is, but at this point, there's really not. I need mentally to work through this stuff. I've got to figure it out. The solutions are there. I just can't see them right now because they're obfuscated to me, just because of the feelings of overwhelm and where I'm at. And it's like, no, I got this. Thanks. I do. I love you. I appreciate your interaction, but I'll let you know and we'll go from there. So 2 different ways of handling that. But even with all these skills and all these coping skills and all these, okay, I got my goals written down, so I'm not derailing my goals. Got my message to myself on the mirror. I've got that. And it's been my experience, whenever you feel like everything's falling apart, like everything is just not working, that's when it's time to dig in. It's when it's time to push through. It's time to keep working on those problems and solving those problems. And it's okay to decompress for a little while and to let the emotions die down around some of the more inflamed situations so that you can address them logically and in a way that you will have a positive outcome. But sometimes mentally, you just need to take a break. You need to go talk to somebody. You need to go figure something else out, or you need to stop thinking about it for a little while and just rest. And I don't mean rest where you're scrolling through social media or this or that. I mean, either truly just go to sleep or spend some time with significant others, go play with your kids, and watch a movie if that's your thing, read if that's your thing, but take some time where your subconscious can chew on it, but you're not mentally focused on it. And sometimes that's not going to make sense, guys. Sometimes that means clearing your calendar and your schedule for the afternoon because mentally you're not going to be as effective as possible. And that doesn't always make sense on the front side, but rescheduling those appointments, clearing those calendars, giving yourself that space to breathe mentally will keep you from allowing your negative attitude to continue to impact all the other areas of your life and to do some destructive habits or do some destructive things that are either going to derail you for your goals or they're going to derail you for long term, maybe end up hurting some relationships where you got to go back and make some apologies, things like that. Sometimes a response is required immediately, especially in a relationship. But a lot of times, if you can give reassurance that you will address those facts and that you will make time to bring this back up, the folks will give you your space, and you can take that space if you need it. You're not required to respond every time. I'm not having a situation like that, but it does contribute into these. Today, my burden is just heavy for whatever reason. I'm feeling a lot of pressure from all different areas and not in the position that I want to be in. So, taking the time, I'm decompressing, I'm doing what I need to do, I'm relaxing. And it was important that I get on here and share this with you guys because I don't want the number one thing that bothers me more than anything else when I'm feeling this way is I feel so isolated and I feel so alone. And we always feel like our problems are so unique and that we're the only ones that ever feel this way, especially as guys. I mean, we're all stubborn and pig headed. We don't want to talk about what's weak or what makes us feel like we're weak. Well, this doesn't make us weak. This makes us human. And that feeling of isolation does not lead to good decision making. So if even one or two of you out there can relate to this and can understand when you're feeling like that, it's okay. It's normal. There's a lot of us guys out there that do feel that same way from time to time. And just get through it. And just like the good days don't last forever, the bad days don't last forever. And honestly, I'm not even having a bad day. I'm just having what I would call a heavy, heavy day. The burden is heavy today. I've got a lot of stuff that I want to resolve. I've got a lot of stuff up in the air. I've got a lot of pieces to these puzzles moving that are just not doing what I want them to do. And I don't know why, but that's okay. We'll work through them one at a time. We'll make things happen and we'll go from there. I don't want anybody out there feeling isolated. I don't want you guys feeling alone. I know that some of you follow the podcast to listen to Des and I go back and forth. Some of you follow my content because you like what I give you every day, but trying really to focus on these tidbits that folks don't talk about all that much or that you could use to help. Maybe you can come back and use some of these skills and go from there. But the best thing I can tell you when you're having a heavy day is make sure that you have identified everything that you're upset about and write it down. I'm a big advocate of writing it down. Electronic works, a notebook works too. If you can see the number of notebooks on my desk, you understand I'm a huge notebook dude. But write it down. It helps you clarify what you're thinking about. It also helps you clarify what not to think about whenever you're decompressing because it's there. You'll be able to pick it right back up off that page and take care of it again whenever it's time. But remember, as the leader of your family, as the leader of your business, as the leader of yourself, as the CEO of you, making sure that you have a clear head and are able to make decisions, good quality decisions moving forward and not react in rash anger or excitement or fear or joy and make a good, solid decision. That's what's most important. That's what your children are looking up to. That's what your spouse is looking up to you for. That's what your company is looking up to you for. Because just because you're the owner of the company, that was easy. That was paperwork and that was filing stuff and that was getting out there and getting to work. But being a leader in your company and being a leader in your life and in your business, that is an earned title. These people are watching you and they're not only watching you to see if they trust you and if they continue to want to work with you and move forward with you, but they're also watching you so that maybe they can take a piece of that and implement it into their own lives and make their life just a little bit better. You may not be doing it with intent. You might be doing it with intent, but either way, people are watching you. You are leading people and you are influencing people, whether you know it or not. It could be one or two, or it could be 100. So I really appreciate the love, guys. Listen, if this hit for you, share it with somebody that needs it. If you got some stories or you want to chime in down there, it'd be really nice to hear that I'm not the only one that feels this way. I love you guys. Peace.